I refused to pick up a creepy hitchhiker. A few minutes later, my car broke down. When I tell this story at parties, I make it out to be a joke. I play up the grand, over-the-top justice of it all, framing my car breaking down as a comedic punchline. In reality, that night remains one of the most harrowing experiences of my life. It was 2014, and I was a high school student. I lived in Central Texas, but my older brother was attending college in Colorado. With his graduation approaching, I decided to drive to visit him during spring break. The only issue was that I wasn't supposed to be driving. Believe it or not, despite being an 18-year-old who loved speeding, I had never once broken a traffic rule or received a ticket. Unfortunately, I had been caught drinking with friends a week prior to my planned trip, and my license was suspended for 30 days. But I wasn't about to let that stop me. I set off in the afternoon, fueled by Red Bulls to stay awake, and took mostly back roads to avoid state troopers. The journey took a few hours longer, but it was worth it. By midnight, I felt like I was in the middle of the Australian outback. The road was desolate, with nothing but bushes and faded signs. I was so caught up in my own thoughts that I almost missed the orange traffic cones set up on the road, arranged in a square over the yellow center line. I slowed down but didn't stop, convinced there was no construction going on. My map indicated there should be more signs, and I knew there were no roadworks in the area, so the cones seemed out of place. A few miles later, I was interrupted again. My high beams illuminated something on the road, this time in my lane. I squinted, thinking it might be another traffic cone, but it was taller and not as thin. As I got closer, I realized it was a person. They were looking at me, clearly trying to flag me down. They raised one arm in a welcoming gesture, as if expecting the cold metal of my bumper. I slammed on the brakes, my neck snapping forward. Confusion and anger surged through me as I dimmed my headlights and got a better look. The man was ordinary-looking, tall and middle-aged, wearing blue jeans and a long, tan coat. His blue eyes seemed too small for his face, and he gave me a wide, unsettling smile. But what really caught my attention was what he was holding, something small, furry, and bloody. I couldn't quite make out what it was, but it looked like a dead mouse. I didn't want to know why he was holding it, I just knew something was off. One of his arms was behind his back, making me wonder if he was hiding a weapon. I took my foot off the brake and accelerated away. The man took a step forward as I tried to avoid him, but when he saw I wasn't stopping, he took a step back, revealing a large crowbar behind his back. I sped away, not quite believing what had just happened. There was a small chance he needed help, but I wasn't sticking around to find out. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw the man start to run after my car. For a moment, it was unsettling, but then I laughed. He couldn't possibly catch up, could he? Idiot, I muttered to myself. That's when my car lurched forward with a loud crash. I looked back at the road just in time to see a series of loud bangs, like gunfire. My dashboard lit up, warning lights flashing uselessly as my tires shredded themselves. The car began to veer left, the steering wheel fighting me. A low, flapping noise came from the wheels. When I finally stopped, I took a moment to catch my breath before stepping out. Using my flashlight, I assessed the damage. All 4 tires were in shreds, strips of rubber curled up like dead skin. I stood there, shaking slightly, unable to believe how quickly everything had gone wrong. I swept the light back along the road and saw a strip of nails lying in the darkness, about 50 meters away. I hadn't seen it coming. Between the encounter with the man and the tire blowout, there was a small hill. I hadn't seen anything beyond it, but I knew someone was closing in. The man with the crowbar, who had likely set up the cones and the nail strip, was walking towards me. I had about 5 minutes to think of what to do. My phone had no signal, so I couldn't call for help. My first thought was to get back in the car and lock the doors, but that wouldn't help against someone with a crowbar. I could run into the fields on either side, but there was nowhere to hide, and I didn't want to stray further from potential help. So, I decided to run. I turned on my car's headlights to alert any passing drivers, grabbed my belongings, and set off. As a long-distance runner in high school, I had the endurance, and I knew I had to keep going until I got help. I glanced back every minute or so, the flashlight beam too weak to reach the man, but I could see his silhouette against the starry sky. He was tiny in the distance, but he was still coming, and that was all that mattered. The initial 5 minutes turned into 10, and I couldn't believe he wasn't giving up. I told myself he couldn't keep up the pace, but every time I looked back, he was a little closer. Eventually, I tried shouting at him, asking what he wanted, but there was no response. Eventually, I saw headlights in the distance, a pickup truck approaching. I ran into the middle of the road, waving my arms and shouting for help. The truck slowed down briefly, but then continued on its way without stopping or honking. The help I had been counting on left me in the dust. I stood there, frozen in anger and disbelief before composing myself. I looked back, and strangely, I couldn't see anyone. Maybe the man had given up, or maybe I had hallucinated the whole thing. Either way, I started running again, checking my phone periodically for a signal. After another half-mile, I spotted a car parked by the side of the road, a red Dodge Charger with its lights off. The tires were intact, and there was no visible damage. I approached cautiously, wondering if this could be the man's car. The doors were unlocked, and the keys were in the ignition. I got in, relieved to find that the car started, and there was enough gas to get me to the next town. As I pulled away, I caught a glimpse of the man out of the corner of my eye, a pale, blurry figure with a wide grin, moving faster than he should have been. I drove straight to the police station in the next town. When they took me back to my car, all the windows were shattered, not just cracked, but destroyed. Nothing was stolen, which made it even more sinister. As far as I know, they never found the man with the crowbar. There's a part of the story I usually leave out. When I finally reached the Charger, exhausted and drained, the driver's door was open. I shone my flashlight inside, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The interior was mangled, blood splattered everywhere. The windshield was cracked from the inside. Outside, a dark trail led away from the car, across the gravel and weeds. I followed the trail with my light until it stopped at something that was still and twisted, a man lying on his back. It was the hitchhiker, or at least, what was left of him. His mouth was open as if he had died trying to speak. His skull was smashed, part of it missing, leaving a cavity above his eyes. The flashlight revealed that the bloody thing he had been holding wasn't a dead animal, it was a human scalp.